When Ayaan first arrived in the Netherlands as an asylum seeker, she was one of the protégés, among other things, of the politician Frits Bolkestein.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you are feeling good. Today we'll be checking out a video titled Insane. Douglas Murray shocked Ayaan with brutal truth that no one wants to hear. Wow. I believe this is going to be another interesting one. Let's check it out. Go.
The latest episode of the Trigonometry podcast featuring Ayaan Hirsi Ali aired, and people couldn't help but be struck by the gravity of her observations about Europe's transformation over the past 3 decades.
We don't want this. We can turn this tide. I think America could turn this tide. I worry about Europe. I worry about Europe also because of the rise of the very radical, extreme right-wing parties. And when you have a scenario where violent, radical white supremacists face off with radical Islamist jihadis, then it's not Europe anymore.
She claims that parts of Europe now resemble the Islamist country she fled from, and her prediction about the continent's future is indeed alarming.
Add a splash of Antifa and the radical organized communist organizations, and legitimate authority of people in the center who are elected to keep these sorts of things at bay.
But as much as Hirsi Ali's comments were provocative, I find Douglas Murray's perspective on this issue to be far more insightful and grounded in reality.
I mean, I would say it's extremely difficult to know because predictions are always tough, rough on people.
Douglas Murray has long been vocal about the consequences of unchecked immigration and failed integration policies in Europe.
All you can do is base them on the evidence in front of your eyes. And I think that what Ayaan said there is completely true and indeed evident. It's evident because if a population grows that is effectively in large part unassimilated.
His reflections on Hirsi Ali's statements during the podcast were not only compelling, but also echoed the sentiments of many who have observed the same unsettling trends across the continent.
Or at least has views that the rest of the country finds abhorrent or distasteful. If that particular demographic grows and grows and grows, of course they're going to have more and more impact, more and more presence.
Murray's argument is straightforward yet profound. He highlights the obvious but often ignored reality that if a significant portion of the population remains unassimilated, it will inevitably impact the cultural and social fabric of the host country.
They'll be felt more and more in the country.
This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's a reality that many European nations are grappling with today.
I mean, I would say it's extremely difficult to know because predictions are always tough, rough on people. All you can do is base them on the evidence in front of your eyes. And I think that what Ayaan said there is completely true and indeed evident. It's evident because if a population grows that is effectively in large part unassimilated, or at least has views that the rest of the country finds abhorrent or distasteful, if that particular demographic grows and grows and grows, of course they're going to have more and more impact, more and more presence. They'll be felt more and more in the country. When Ayaan first arrived in the Netherlands as an asylum seeker, she was one of the protégés, among other things, of the politician Frits Bolkestein.
When Murray speaks about the growth of a demographic that holds values and views starkly different from the mainstream population, he is not just fear-mongering. He is pointing out a fact that is visible to anyone willing to see it.
And he was warning about this in the 1990s. And, others of us warned about it. And not only did governments not listen.
Neighbourhoods in cities like London, Paris, and Amsterdam have transformed drastically over the past few decades. The cultural shifts are palpable, and not all of them are harmonious.
They actually made the situation worse. I mean, look at the UK.
Murray reminds us that these changes did not occur overnight. There were warnings, many of them, issued by scholars, politicians and commentators like Frits Buxton in the Netherlands back in the 1990s.
In the UK, we have a Conservative government about to leave office after 14 years, got into office saying that immigration would become tens of thousands of people a year rather than hundreds of thousands, roughly back to 1990s immigration.
However, these warnings were largely ignored by the political class. Instead of addressing the concerns, governments across Europe chose to dismiss them, often labelling such concerns as xenophobic or racist. Take the UK, for instance. Murray's criticism of the Conservative government is particularly scathing but justified. The Conservatives came to power promising to bring immigration numbers down to the tens of thousands per year.
And the Conservatives are going to leave office with net migration in the UK at almost 1 million a year.
Yet, as they prepare to leave office after 14 years, net migration stands at nearly 1 million annually. This colossal failure to meet their own targets underscores a broader issue: the disconnect between political promises and actual policy implementation.
Why did these people not listen? Why did they never listen? Why did they never act on all of the warnings after warnings that people gave? So you ask, is it going to happen? Yes, if we continue like this. And if we continue in this situation where the political class both accelerates immigration massively.
What's even more frustrating is the political class's tendency to dismiss legitimate concerns about immigration and integration as conspiracy theories. The term Great Replacement is often thrown around to ridicule those who speak out. But Murray's point is clear. When the evidence is right in front of you, it's not a conspiracy, it's a fact.
Totally fails at integration. I mean, good luck with that old idea. And then tells the general public, as they do, that it's all a conspiracy theory that the immigration is happening at this pace. And it's all a great replacement conspiracy theory. So what you see before your eyes is a conspiracy theory. It'll happen if it goes on like that, for sure.
The implications of this demographic shift are profound. As Murray argues, the presence of a large unassimilated population will inevitably alter the character of a country. This is not just about numbers, it's about values, norms, and social cohesion. If the majority population finds the views and practices of a growing minority abhorrent or distasteful, it creates a fertile ground for conflict and division.
In my experience, again, to go back to those, for me, early days when I started to participate in this debate and say, look, here's what the threat is and what it looks like. The first obstacle, I think, to a broader insight was the members of the elite, politicians, academics, journalists, who said, oh, you poor thing, you traumatized little girl from Somalia, you don't understand, we're these open societies, and we're going to approach this.
Murray's critique is not just about immigration, but about the failure to integrate. He dismisses the old idea of successful assimilation as a myth, pointing out that the current state of affairs proves otherwise. Integration efforts have been lackluster at best, leading to the formation of parallel societies within European countries. These communities often have their own distinct cultural practices, which can sometimes be at odds with the host country's values.
Integrate or assimilate. As the word assimilation wasn't used, it was integrate. Assimilation was considered to be an insult to the Muslims and to the immigrants. It had to come from both ways. In any case, why don't we take the lot who are already here, get to that utopia of multiculturalism, and then slowly you could talk about having more immigrants coming. But that's not what in the end happened. What in the end happened was...
So, where do we go from here? Murray's outlook is grim but realistic. He doesn't offer easy solutions because there aren't any. The situation is complex and requires a multifaceted approach. However, one thing is clear. Continuing on the current path will only lead to more division and societal breakdown.
Those who had come and their children who had been radicalized in this dawah infrastructure, the mosques and the madrasas and in Europe, they continued to broaden their parallel society. I don't know how else to describe it. They have sort of Sharia-light ghettos, and those were allowed to thrive. But at the same time, the borders were also flung open through the asylum and refugee system. So now you have the opposite of what was the desired outcome.
Douglas Murray's comments on Ayaan Hirsi Ali's observations about Europe are not just valid. They are crucial for anyone interested in the future of the continent. While Hirsi Ali's comments might seem exaggerated to some, Murray provides a grounded and evidence-based perspective that highlights the urgent need for action. Ignoring these realities will only hasten the strange death of Europe that Murray and others have warned about. It's time for the political class to listen, to act, and to address the concerns that have been brushed aside for far too long. The future of Europe depends on it. So,
Wow, what an interesting interaction. Just by the name, insane. Douglas Murray shocked Ayaan with brutal truth that no one wants to hear. Just by the facts and points that Douglas and Ayaan have stated, I totally relate with the facts based on what they have stated. And I believe the main problem here is not about immigration. The major problem is about integration, it's about assimilation. People coming into the country, are they ready to integrate? Are they ready to assimilate? Are they ready to accept the host country's culture? Are they ready to accept the host country tradition? Are they ready to accept the host country's value system? We all understand that immigrants coming into a country can bring a lot of economic benefits to the host country if they are ready to integrate effectively, and can also cause harm to the host country if they are not ready to integrate. We understand that in Europe, they promote multiculturalism, they promote freedom of speech, they promote freedom of expression, they promote freedom of religion, they promote multiculturalism, so people can be able to live peacefully without any problem. But a lot of people try to, take advantage of this lovely act in order to be able to become extremists, in order to be able to resort to violence. Because these people, they fail to integrate, they fail to accept the host country's culture, but rather try to impose their own culture, impose their own belief, impose their own tradition, impose their own values on the locals, which I see as totally unacceptable. So I believe if immigrants are coming into a country, they should be able to adjust themselves to accommodate the host country culture, accommodate the host country belief, instead of coming with their own culture and trying to impose it on the locals. I believe this is the issue Ayaan and Douglas is trying to address in this video, that people have been talking about this problem in decades, more than 20 years, more than 30 years, and it has been overlooked. And right now, this is the major problem Europe and even UK is suffering from right now. So I believe I've really learned a lot just listening to Douglas and Ayaan. So I also love to hear your comments and your points based on the facts they have stated. Let's get the conversation rolling. Don't forget.